Hello there, performance management students. Steve Willis here. In this video, I'm going to help you get a pass on your upcoming ACCA exam. I'm going to take you on a deep dive into exam technique for activity-based budgeting. We'll do a debrief of the past exam question treadco together. And if you find this video helpful, well, you can get access to all of my PM revision videos at the link in the description below. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below. And if you like this video, throw down a like as well. That will help me out. Alrighty, guys, let's get started.
I'm in the exam platform, ready to get started. The first thing I need to do is read the scenario. So I move this slider over to the right so I can enlarge that reading area. And we learn about the Treadco company that makes shoes and sports clothing. And they're small and they have a good reputation for quality. However, this reputation is being threatened by the increasing number of complaints. We learn about the new FD who has found inefficiencies and believes the company can be more profitable. The FD believes that this is partly due to their budgeting approach. As they're using incremental budgeting, he thinks that activity-based budgeting would be more appropriate. We read further and we learn about their two styles of shoe, the deluxe and the standard. As we read further, we get the operational data, but we don't need that for now. We've got enough to answer part A. So I'm going to get started, and I am going to come up with 4 or 5 ideas around explaining the main principles of ABB. Let me read to you what I've written. Activity-based budgeting is a modern approach well suited for companies with complex operations and high overheads. Under ABB, the finance team will investigate the activities that the company performs and find the links between these activities and the buildup of costs. For example, cost per setup. Next, these activity costs can be grouped as cost pools. For example, quality control inspection costs. Notice my writing style. I'm trying to keep it straightforward and simple. I don't have to write in a fancy academic style. I won't be judged for any spelling or grammar mistakes. If the marking team understands the points you're making, you'll be awarded credit. And I think I'm off to a good start. I've already made 2 or 3 valid points. I'll continue. Next, the sales and production forecasts are prepared. With this information, the required number of activities can be determined and the total budgeted overheads can be calculated. Now, Treadco can have a more accurate budget, and with new knowledge of their activities, they can take steps to become more efficient by cutting the unnecessary activities. I think I've done a good job. Not only did I explain the main principles, I sprinkled in some examples from the scenario, so I'm confident here I've got a comfortable pass on part A. I hit next, and it's time to tackle part B, the spreadsheet. And to do this part, I'm going to need the information on the bottom half of the scenario. We've got this production data and the batch sizes. Very important for our calculations. Dealing with batches is a common challenge that we see in our PM exams, so make sure you understand how to deal with that. They are manufactured, the shoes are manufactured in batches. So to understand the number of batches, we divide the demand by the batch size. And here at the bottom of the scenario, we find the constraints. We see that the production line has 175 hours a month. We see that the quality control and the shipping inspectors, they're both contracted to 150 hours a month. And then we see the time per batch for both resources. We've got quality control at 2.5 hours, and the shipping admin team takes 0.75 hours. Before I start working, let's read that question again. Calculate any spare capacity or shortage in the hours required to meet the expected monthly output. So we've got the monthly output of the shoes. Let's make a table. I think I'll start with my products. We've got the deluxe, we've got the standard. And then next to that we can put the total time required. And next to that we can add the hours available. And next to that, we can then determine with that information if we have a surplus or shortfall. And I'll double click on these column separators to open the columns up to the right width. Let's change that to hours. We're talking about hours, we'll be clear. And we're talking about 3 resources. So let's label our resources in the rows. We've got machine hours needed. We've got quality inspectors. And shipping admin. So this is the layout of my table, and this is an important first step. If you're not sure what to do, reading around in the question I think will just confuse you. So it's really good to take a high-level view, figure out what we're trying to calculate, and make an efficient table so we can do the work. Now, there's no way we can pack all of those calculations about the inspectors and the admin team into those cells, but not a problem. We can do extra workings down below. Now, I think it's easy to plug in the hours that we have. And that information is given to us 175 for the production. And then it was 150 hours times 2 employees for quality and shipping. Now, we can get busy calculating the hours that we needed product by product. For the deluxe, we see a monthly demand of 22,500, and they can do 250 pairs of shoes in an hour. So we divide by the time per unit, and we get 90. Why is that negative? Let's get rid of that negative sign. And we can do the same thing for the standard. We have 24,000 shoes to make, and we can divide that by pairs of shoes per hour of 300, and we get 80. And we can add those together to get the sum using that handy dandy sum function. And right now I can see that we have a surplus of machine hours, and that will be equal to the hours available minus the hours needed. I'm liking our table, everyone. With this, we can make quick work of the calculations. We can drag that formula down, and the work will be done for us by the handy dandy spreadsheet. Now, this business about the quality inspectors, it's going to get complicated. It's too much to pack into one formula, so there's no reason I can't go lower and make a working. Remember, the more complicated you make your formula, the more likely it is to have an error. So it's always good to break complicated formulas into smaller steps. So we can come down here and do some workings for the quality inspectors. And we got to get to the hours required, so we need to get the number of batches that they're going to actually inspect Then we can get the time per batch, and we can multiply the number of batches by the time per batch, and we can see how much time it would take to inspect the production. So, number of batches, time per batch, and then the hours needed. And we've got that production data again. I can just copy it here from the machine hours. And now I'm not going to divide by the machine hours, but I'll divide by those batch sizes. And we see 300 and 400. Changing out those denominators. We've got 75 and 60. Time per batch. We've got that 2.5 here from that paragraph. Oh, that's in the wrong row. Let's move that to the right place. And the time per batch, 2.5. Hours needed will be the product of the number of batches and the time per batch. Look at that. Quick work. So with the power of the spreadsheet and relative cell addresses, we hit the equal sign. We can bring the 187.5 up to there. Copy over to the standard. Now I can just copy this information down. We get the total hours needed, and I can copy that shortage down, and the calculation will be done for me. So look at this, 37, we're missing 37.5 hours. So look at that, we found our first shortfall. And because the shipping admin will be quite similar to the quality inspectors, there's no reason we can't do a tactical copy-paste. Copy, paste. And let's just change out the data. Now we're talking about the shipping admin. Now we need to change out the number of batches, and we see they ship in sizes of 125 and 150 over here. So let's trade the 300 for the 125 and the 400 for the 150. And then that time per batch is 0.75, changing out this row as well. And we get our hours needed for the shipping team. Use that equal sign to grab that cell. And copy that over. And last but not least, let's copy these formulas down. And team. There we have it. We've made quick work of this requirement with some efficient spreadsheet work. But let's make sure we identify surplus or shortage. Let's not leave anything to chance. The positive numbers would be a surplus, so let's tell the marketing team about that. And the quality inspectors is our shortage. PM team, it's not a problem if your spreadsheet looks a little bit different. The marketing team will find what you did and give you the marks for the work however you laid it out. However, it's nice to be efficient. It saves time if you can use good spreadsheet skills. I also like breaking things down because you will not be marked for arriving at the correct solution. You will be marked step by step, partial credit for everything you do correctly. So when you break a big problem into small steps. The marking team can give you partial credit if you've made some mistakes. And the cool thing is, anything that you've done wrong will be assumed correct when you use it later. So if you had a glitch with your time per batch, for example, imagine you made a typo, maybe you'd lose the credit here, hours needed, but you'd get the full credit when you use those total hours for other calculations. I'm ready to do part C now, and I think this is the most challenging part of the question. I think talking about ABB from a technical point of view, not so bad. Those numbers, they weren't so bad. I think we could find 50% of the marks in that spreadsheet. But here, we've got to discuss the implications of our findings. So we have to interpret the results and then frame the interpretation in the context of this story thread. When the question gives you this detailed scenario about the company, we need to use that information in our answer. So let me get started writing this up, and I'll show you my approach. Notice I've used some signposting here to help me lay out my answer and generate ideas. Always a good idea. If you're not sure where to begin, think about what you want to say and make headings. Great way to get started with a discussion part using signposting. I'm done crafting my answer, and I really like the look of a discussion when it is signposted with headings and subheadings like this. I think the marking team will appreciate that too. Let me read to you what I've written. So, surplus hours production time. There is a small surplus of production hours. This means Treadco has some buffer in case they need to rework some defective units that the quality inspectors discover. They don't have enough hours to take on any new big contracts, however. So I'm writing in plain English, short, simple sentences, trying to make my point, and then I move on. Shipping admin. This is the most underutilized resource as they have the biggest surplus of their time. This shows that the FD is correct about inefficiency in operations. The company could expand the shipping administrator's duties to make use of this surplus time. Now we move to the shortfall. Quality inspectors. We see a shortage of inspector hours. This might be the root cause of the complaints about quality. They are probably overworked and not doing a thorough check of the shoes, so defects are getting passed. This might not be easy to fix, as adding another inspector will add another 150 hours and create another surplus of hours. Overall, the shortage of quality inspectors is a serious issue for Treadco, as it's hurting their reputation and position in the market. So I'm quite happy with that answer. I've got 1 or 2 points in each of those paragraphs, so I'm confident I've got a solid pass on part C. Again, don't worry about your spelling and your grammar. Make your points. If your point is valid, the marking team will give you the credit. And make sure that you link your answer to this story that they give you in the scenario. Ladies and gentlemen, we've completed our debrief of question Treadco. I hope you found that useful. I hope you've picked up some exam technique tips. You've still got time to study, so don't worry if you found this challenging. Guys, I will see you next week.